mixing and matching. But didn't watch with a ton of intent is what I'm getting at.
49-21. I mean, did it really change in your opinion about the Knights that you didn't know before?
I think the one thing, and I was looking at the box score and stuff today, I know that McCray went out with the injury, and then the running back, and then Trey Nixon, their number one receiver, neither one of them returned. But I think that's a storyline to watch for this week. But also it plays into their, I'm going to try to pull up the box score here, but their depth. Like Otis Anderson had a big game. And some of those names I was like, they're still there?
Otis Anderson for sure. They had three receivers with at least 94 yards receiving. Yeah. So, I mean, it was spread out. They just got tons of guys all over the place.
Bentavious Thompson is the other one. Running back, carried it 12 times, had a touchdown. McCray is a name I definitely recognize, had a touchdown, 50 yards. Like I said, he was out. And then, the receivers you mentioned, so there's a lot of production that was spread out, which is typical for them. I think last year in Orlando, Adrian Killens was banged up.
Oh, yeah.
I think Otis Anderson came in, had a big game. So you look at the last few years, some of these same names. McCray always kind of bounces in and out of the lineup. And so that's something to watch, I think, this week is the health of those two guys. But also, do they really need those two guys to make a huge impact? I mean, if you look at what they did against Georgia Tech, they have other ones that can fill in and kind of roll with it.
A little more concerned maybe about their defense than I was before. Georgia Tech did have 471 yards, but just 21 points. And we watched Sims, the young quarterback for Georgia Tech, the previous week against Florida State, and he didn't set the world on fire. 18 of 36, 244, one touchdown, two picks in the game against UCF. Right now, and I think he'll end up being a good passer, but right now his best is running the football, and he was able to have 82 yards and a touchdown against UCF on Saturday. So maybe
can run it.
I was kind of going to get to that. Maybe that's something that the coaches are looking at, and Ayler's much better passer than Jeff Sims, too. I think that ECU will score more than Georgia Tech did. I think they'll have more yards than Georgia Tech did. I also think there's a chance that UCF scores more against ECU than they did against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I've listened to your segment on the drive in here with the BMOC talking about the point total, and I think he's on it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I mean, you look at UCF's just averages. Can they get to 40s, 50s?
They're not going to be held under 40 many times this year, period.
Exactly. And Gabriel is, that quarterback he's the truth. Looking at the AAC's release today, he was named the League Player of the Week. He was the National Player of the Week by Walter Camp. 417 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he's a potential star that's just getting better and better. So, and to me, again, it goes back to a team that has that much depth and speed. If you put so much focus on Gabriel, they could run it for 300 yards with their 3 or 4 different backs. Or it's just their versatility and multiple weapons. I think is what makes them more difficult, different than any other teams in the league. I think they have the most depth spread out than anybody else. Doesn't mean they're better than other teams, because I don't think they do one thing really, really great or really, really well, but just they're really they're deep. They've got a lot of talent. I think have more talent than other teams in the league usually.
417 for Gabriel through the air, as you said, all those Player of the Week awards, and they still rushed for 243 yards. As a team. So they're going to get it done in multiple ways. It almost makes me wish we did have that old Skip Holtz, Todd Fitch offense that was really boring, but would kind of take the air out of the ball and limit possessions for the opponent. But for ECU to succeed in 2020 with Ehlers and these weapons at receiver, they're going to want to go fast. They're going to want to be up-tempo, and they're going to want to that's their pace that they want to play. So they're going to be in a shootout on Saturday, no doubt about that. They're just going to have to keep up and hope they can get some stops.
And I think a key as well, it's hard to probably break down all the numbers with this, but I think there's been a general sense, and I've heard it from some of the national guys, that the team that has played a game typically has a solid footing and advantage over a team that hasn't played yet. So in this scenario, and especially UCF, the way they just played and looked, I think that's huge for ECU. You know, they need to avoid, and it's going to happen. I mean, they basically said every team their first game is a little slow. You know, Coach Houston's admitted about the conditioning and different things. This is just such a unique year. The worst case scenario for ECU is you go 3 and out or something. The ECF score, you know, it's 21-0, 10 minutes in the game or first. You know, that
UCF got down to a team that had played the week before 7-0, but they're able to
score.
And
they had the talent to roll right through. Yeah, so that's a little scary for me. Or again, that's nothing against ECU, but just the way these games have gone. Your first game has been a struggle for a quarter or a half. Reminds me somewhat like NC State ECU last year. And ECU had the fumble early, and then State picked up big plays, and ECU just never could catch up. That's the scenario ideally, it's easy for me to say it here, but they need to try to avoid against this team because you don't want to get down 2-3 touchdowns. Because then you might fight back like they did last year in Orlando, but you're probably not winning a game against UCF if you're down 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
It took your Navy midshipmen 8 quarters to wake up because supposedly we're going to see a depth chart tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's great. First
game
one of the year.
A real press Tuesday press conference where we used to go to Town Bank and sit there with last 20, 30 minutes. We talk on different things. And, you get into more specifics, more game plan, roster stuff, depth chart, who's in and out. I think tomorrow there I'm expecting to be heavy on that. And that's, today feels a little different for sure.
Yeah.
Than the last few weeks. I think tomorrow's really going to feel more different.
Yeah, you're right.
We have game notes, and here's the depth chart, and here's what UCF has, and that type of stuff. So, we're here, which feels a little stressful, like always, but we'll get through it.
Ehlers is your starter at QB. I think the receivers are pretty set, too, when it comes to the depth chart. Running back will be interesting, although we probably just see Penix at the top.
I could see that for sure.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I still want to see what happens on Saturday with that distribution and everything. Offensive line at a few spots are going to be important to look at. Defensive line, I think, might be the most up in the air position to look at tomorrow. Yeah,
just looking at some of the scrimmage video and stats and kind of piece together some names and whatnot. It could be, heard good things about Travion Freshwater. And obviously his talent, we know what he was as a recruit, and they moved him to the inside.
I think that's a reason to be excited if you're a Pirate fan, to see what you got in Travion Freshwater in his debut in the purple.
But I haven't seen anything from him. And again, it's hard with defensive line, but I haven't seen in the scrimmage stats from him. It's been a lot of those linebackers and secondary guys. And I don't know if they single out a lot of sacks on those stat sheets from the scrimmages. That kind of limits the defensive line's impact. But you're right. I think running back and defensive line, a little bit in the secondary just to see, like Sean Darceau.
If any of the new guys.
Yeah, who's the other JUCO safety? I can't think of his name. But there's some defensive back additions. Even Nigel Knott, the Alabama transfer, I don't see being a starter. But where do those guys fit in? Darceau, I know they've has had a good camp, and they've been big on him. So
tight end's another one where I could see any 3 of those guys being first string.
Yeah.
But who won the job in the offseason and how many do they play? We might see all 3 on Saturday.
Igo's big on Jeremy Lewis. At least he asked about him recently and wrote about him, so you never know. It's a little guessing game for all of us right now. But yeah, you're right. I think for sure a defensive line are going to be and then is there a surprise or two? Good, bad, and different, whatever. Is there either injury or non-injury or some dude like last year? I think it was last year. It was Noah Henderson, right?
Yep.
It was like starting at right tackle. And the depth chart came out that week, and we were like, who's Noah Henderson? It's like, well, he's a freshman who he's starting. It's like there's always a little bit of that. Even if it's not major, there's some news out of the game week. Press conference and depth chart and all that good stuff.
And the last we know is Mike Houston said there was one player in quarantine at the moment that couldn't participate, but everybody else was on board, and we'll probably see that in the depth chart tomorrow. But they're going to do 3 more rounds of testing this week, so that could change, unfortunately, from tomorrow to Saturday. And coaches don't have to and won't say, who is tested positive or who is in quarantine by the player's name. So you kind of just find out when it happens on Saturday.
Yeah, and stuff I've listened to as well. I know you listened to the Stanford Steve and the Bear podcast and some of that. They've talked about and the hour mark before, it's like the team comes out for warm-ups, and it's like follow the beat writers on Twitter or watch the TV broadcast or whatever about an hour before.
I'm trying to remember who FAU was supposed to play last week, but they were saying take the other team because I've heard that FAU has an outbreak of COVID cases.
Yeah.
And then like 1 or 2 days later, they didn't play the game.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna.
Man, yeah.
I'm not even gonna put out any mojo on that right now.
That would be
but it is a factor.
Yeah.
For these games.
And again,
how does UCF test after traveling?
Yeah. And playing a game.
Damn, I didn't think of that.
I mean, there's I mean that's the flip side of what we talked about earlier of not playing yet. In theory, you should have an advantage.
Yeah,
health-wise,
with your players.
COVID-wise, you haven't, like injuries, whatever. Speaking of UCF, Georgia Tech,
they're just running in touchdowns.
But yeah, those are all factors. I mean, again, Saturday, it's going to be interesting. Again, I'm getting into game mode for sure, but did some interviews today with some people at ECU. I'm trying to do a story this week on what is it like for ESPN Plus. What is the production like? How does it work? The announcers are going to be in Texas. They're not coming here for the treat. Like some of that type of stuff, I think could be a really kind of interesting read. So I'll plug that a little bit here. But talked to some people there about the production side. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be different. Like the video board, do you run replays for the 300 parents? They're going to be.
I think you treat it like a normal game,
and
as much as you can, and also the crowd noises. I'm kind of interested in too.
Yeah, like that. Those specifics, and even for us, like being in the press box without fans. I mean, it's going to be a different deal. So all that is related and factored into it. But it's a game. We have a game we can talk about and write about and watch, and just hope the ESPN Plus. It's good.
Well,
it should everything I've heard.
First appearances and first impressions, Ronnie, for ECU fans, not a positive one for ESPN Plus. You were probably at the game at Old Dominion.
Yep.
But fans were not happy with that production. Yeah. I think when it's at Dowdy Ficklin or these American schools, it'll go a lot better.
Yeah.
By the way, are you making the trip to Atlanta next Saturday?
Doubtful.
That game will be another nooner, and it'll be on ESPNU. So that
maybe to doubtful.
That news came out today. All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back. More on ECU and UCF. We'll also make our AAC survivor picks. So far, I have used South Florida and UCF. Ronnie has used South Florida and Navy.
Yep.
I always use South Florida and Cincinnati. We'll make our picks coming up next. Talk more with Ronnie Woodward from the Daily Reflector. Back with you after this.
Medicare is not one size fits all, but which plan is right for you? Hi, I'm Denise Walker, and I'm a licensed insurance agent here in North Carolina. Whether you are turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I can help you compare your Medicare options. I can help you find a plan offering low to no monthly premiums, prescription drug coverage, and a wide range of additional benefits like dental, hearing, vision, and more. Call me today at 434-531-5674 to get a no-cost, no-obligation Medicare benefits review.
The Frells family lives on a lush piece of land called greener pasture, and they work on it behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. With its durable construction and features that hook up to dozens of attachments with ease, no job is too tough. The Frells family runs with us, because this is more than just land, it's home. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere 1 Series for more.
Get quality at every turn with Quality Equipment, your local John Deere dealer, with 27 locations in North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. Find out more at qualityequip.com.
We're midway through bath time, and 2 medium 2-topping Domino's pizzas for $5.99 each have begun their drive to the Smith's front door. That's a GPS-enabled custom delivery alert, folks. The newest improvement to the Domino's tracker, saying Domino's will be there in 2 minutes. They're calling it audible. Bath time's now rinse time. They've got 1 kid dry, 2 kids dry. The pizzas are here. They made it to the door. The kids are clean enough. The new Domino's tracker with GPS worked again.
2-item minimum. Pan pizza will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary.
With rates being historically low, now is the best time to buy or refinance your home. This is Talbot Green with Angel Oak Home Loans. Now is the time to take advantage of the opportunity to buy more home or refinance your current. The combination of our local team's experience and Angel Oak's wide offerings of products from standard conventional, government, and portfolio loans has something for most financial situations. For more information, call Talbot Green, Joanne Weir, or Wanda Hager at 751-2060.
NMLS 1719250 and 685842. Equal housing lender.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at a Hustler zero-turn lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated, welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. Come see Ronnie's Motorsports. It will guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. Find us at Ronnie's Motorsports, Highway 11 north of the airport in Greenville.
When you don't have time to go to lunch, let Jimmy John's deliver lunch to you. With Jimmy John's, we can get a freaky fresh sandwich to you freaky fast. Click to order at jimmyjohns.com. Dinner's great. It's one of your top 3 favorite meals. You just don't want to have to make it. Well, with Jimmy John's, you don't have to. Whether you live in a sandwich delivery zone or head into the store, you can always get a freaky fresh sandwich. Click to order at jimmyjohns.com.
University PC Care has been the Pirate Nation's go-to IT expert since 2006. They thank you for your continued support and trust during these trying times. Many services can be done remotely and free pickup and delivery is available. As a Dell business partner and Apple authorized service provider, you can count on University PC Care for all your personal and business tech support needs. To make a remote appointment or to bring in your device for service at their Greenville or New Bern locations, call 558-1280 or go online at universitypccare.com.
Hey Pirate fans, the Papa John's menu has grown again with the all-new grilled buffalo chicken papadilla. The papadillas are part sandwich, part pizza, and are only $6. Choose from the all-new grilled buffalo chicken, Philly cheesesteak, Italian, pepperoni meatball, and barbecue chicken and bacon, all for only $6 each. Also for a limited time, get any large 5-topping pizza for only $13.99. Place your order today online at papajohns.com and sign up for Papa Rewards. Papa John's, the official pizza of the ECU Pirates.
Yo ho, you're listening to Pirate Radio.
You're listening to Hour 2 of Pirate Radio Live. This hour is brought to you by The Man Cave, Greenville's newest premier destination for professional manicures, pedicures, and hair services for men only. Book your appointment today at mancaveandnails.com. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back. Orthopedics East and Medicine Center of Greenville's new extended care clinic is now open Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. so you can avoid the emergency department for any urgent orthopedics care. For more information, call 757-2663 or visit orthoeast.com. Orthopedics East, providing services to Eastern North Carolina and the Pirate Nation for more than 35 years. Now let's head back in to Pirate Radio Live. Here's your host, Clip Rock.
All right, Shirley Rhodes. Thank you. Welcome back into the program. Clip Rock, Ronnie Woodward here. Ronnie will be with us, man, among a lot of guests coming up Saturday on the Bud Light pregame tailgate. It's 4 hours of pregame coverage taking you up to kickoff, ECU and UCF at noon on ESPN+. That line has shot up to UCF minus 27. Ronnie and I are looking at the AAC slate of games because we're playing for the second straight year AAC Survivor. We're playing this year because Ronnie won last year and wanted to do it again. I don't know. I wasn't even going to bring it up. I'd forgotten about it, Ronnie, but you wanted to play. And you, myself, Igo, all still alive after 2 weeks, so that's good. Let's talk about the games we picked last week. I picked UCF because it was kind of out of spite. Like, you thought they might not play well or Georgia Tech would have a chance on Saturday. And I said, you know what? I'm making them my survivor pick. So the Knights win. You really went heart overhead and took Navy because you were the one media member, hashtag what a joke, that said Navy would win the AAC. Tyler Feldman, WITN Sports, calling you out on Twitter and then having to eat his words on Saturday.
A little bit. Yeah.
Navy erases a 24-0 deficit to come back and win. I mean, that was more remarkable than what the Cowboys did on Sunday.
I mean, especially considering how bad Navy was its whole first game and then the whole first half. I had turned the game, like, I was kind of into it the first quarter. I was like, all right, you know, because our survivor thing and whatever. And then I flipped it off in the second quarter and just happened to kind of like, oh, what's going on with the Navy game? And it was right when they scored their first touchdown, like the third quarter, to kind of come back. And I was like, all right, I'll keep it here. And then they got a safety, and it was like, okay, like, this thing is happening. They scored again. And, it was, I had given up. And on that team, they look like a completely different team the second half.
Crazy. 27 straight points.
They have to get stops. Like, the key for their whole deal is time of possession. And, like, they just didn't stop anybody against BYU, obviously. And then Tulane was doing the same thing. They were just running and picking up yards after yards, hit a couple big plays, and they couldn't stop anybody. Then you give the ball back to your offense, and you're down. And it's just that it can work for them and it can work against them. But the key is defense. They have to stop people. Then you get the ball and you can grind it out and kind of wear the other team down, and eventually it can work. So they're just such a unique, kind of different team. That's the reason why in a year that's unpredictable and crazy as COVID and schedules moving and all that, I thought Navy had a shot at it. I still don't think they're great, but I still like their schedule set up and whatnot. So I don't know. They might still have a shot at it.
They are all alone in first place at 1-0 in the American. They will be joined this week by either UCF or East Carolina. That is the only league game coming up this week. Let's run through the slate in the American, Ronnie, at noon on ESPN+. It is UCF at ECU in Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. 3:30 on ESPN, Army at Cincinnati. This is a ranked matchup, two ranked teams. Army 22nd in the nation, Cincinnati 14th. I think Cincinnati wins easy, but we'll see. Tulsa is at Arkansas State. That's 3:30 on ESPN2. CBS Sports Network at 6 o'clock, South Florida at FAU. 7 o'clock on ESPN+, North Texas at Houston. 7 o'clock on ESPN+, Stephen F. Austin at SMU. And 7 o'clock, I do not see a TV listing beside it, Tulane at Southern Mississippi. All right, Ronnie, a couple ways you can go here. I've already used UCF, so not that I would take them anyway, because ECU is going to pull the upset on Saturday. You could go Stephen F. Austin against SMU is probably the easiest pick to make. I'm going to go, and this feels a little risky.
I think I know what you're going to do, yeah. Texas schools are.
But I'd rather have SMU, if it comes down to an SMU-Houston matchup later in the year. I know they play. I haven't looked at the schedule.
Yeah.
I'd rather have SMU in that game. So I'm going to take Houston to knock off North Texas as my pick this week. I mean, they're 21.5-point favorites. I might take North Texas plus the points. But I do think Houston wins the game outright, though. Again, we haven't seen them, just like ECU. They'll be making their debut this week. North Texas has already played 2 games. So the safest pick and the easiest pick is SMU, but I've already used UCF. I want to save them. I want to save SMU for later. So give me Houston this week.
That's a good pick, for sure. Because I was looking at the same. Houston's got South Florida later in the year. Tulsa. I'm going to go SMU. I made the risky pick last week.
You might as well just have a no-doubter this week.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. What is Stephen F. Austin? FCS, I assume?
Yeah.
0-2. 0-2. Yeah. SMU at home. They're not going to lose that game. There's a shot. I'm surprised that line for Houston.
And I could see a after the U.S. Sailor fifth quarter call-in show, because, a lot of you Pirate fans and unfortunately this year you can't be, or this week you can't be at Dowdy Ficklin Stadium. Maybe that'll change in the future. But you'll be watching games and hanging out with the fam all day long. I'll be here in the Pirate Radio studio, so I want some games to watch when I get home. And looking at the night slate, Alabama, Missouri, that'll be a blowout, so probably not that fun to watch. I can watch my Houston, North Texas game. Vanderbilt at Texas A&M. That should probably be a blowout. Florida State, Miami is okay, 7:30 on ABC. Tennessee at South Carolina, 7:30 SEC Network. Kansas, Baylor will be a blowout. That's 7:30 on the U. NC State, Virginia Tech, ACC Network. And, I didn't see this one.
Late night.
Oh, I like this.
Troy, BYU.
I mean, the spread's 14, but Troy is good. I like this game. 10:15, ESPN. Hello. Troy, BYU. I'll be all over that one coming up. So, starting to feel more real, especially with ECU playing, with the SEC playing. And then next month, you'll have the Big Ten and some other conferences join, it appears. So, starting to get a little real. The Washington football team laid an egg on Sunday. That made it feel more like reality. So, starting to feel real, Ronnie.
Florida State, Miami. Those games used to be much cooler.
I mean, growing up, that was the game.
Yeah.
Wide right, wide left. It all came down to a field goal.
Oklahoma, Texas, Florida State, Miami used to be, when we were growing up, like the 90s, like the games every single year you had to watch. They were all top 10 teams. They were so good.
And maybe Miami's back after what they did the other night to Louisville.
I mean, De'Aaron King we know about for sure, but they have some talent around him. They got some confidence. I'm very intrigued by that team. I think they're for real. And I was impressed. NC State beat Wake Forest, so I'm curious to see what they do up in Blacksburg. So, I'm with you. I mean,
that was a wild one on Saturday night. I was talking about it with Chandler, and Chandler said either those two teams have great offenses or just porous defenses, and I'm starting to lean more towards bad defense. But State's offense was going at a rapid pace the other night. Yeah. That was a fun game to watch.
They got some running backs for sure.
Our first look at VT, Ron, coming up this week. So a lot of teams.
Of a noon kick for ECU.
Yeah, you get to watch some other football.
Watch some games later in the day. So and gotta take advantage.
And okay, what do you? We'll talk about it more on Saturday. But what kind of game are you expecting Saturday at noon?
Again, I think. More than ever, I mean, this is cliche, but I think the start to the game is huge for ECU. And, again, we'll talk about it Saturday, I'm sure, but there's no fans there. If you're trying to pull an upset over a ranked team, you're playing at home, you want to get off that good start so the fans can get behind you, and, there's not going to be that. So it's like, again, it's scary. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they got to avoid going down multiple scores early. First quarter they needed to be tied or winning, obviously, or one possession,
and go from there, because it was 7-7 on Saturday after one quarter, I believe. And that's when UCF exploded. But you put yourself in that situation, see if you can hang around and trade points.
So that, and then I think a big thing I kind of wrote about a little bit at the timing of my CJ Johnson kind of feature from the weekend was, these are the games where your best players have to be your best players. You can beat a Tulane or Houston or somebody because you're tight end or whoever makes a big play, but you don't beat UCF because of, I don't want to call out certain players, whoever, but you beat UCF because Holton Ahlers and CJ Johnson and Jaquan McMillan. When the fastball rule is in major effect when you're up against a ranked team. So those guys got to show up. If Ahlers and Johnson and some of your best defensive players don't show up big, you're just not as talented as the other team. So those are some things I'm looking for now, early in the week.
Ronnie, we'll talk more to you on Saturday. Thanks, man.
All right.
Ronnie Woodward, Daily Reflector, joining us here on Pirate Radio Live.